Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. We've got a great stream planned ahead, talking about all sorts of good stuff. Tish's family and OnlyFans, Jack Smith being disbarred, Bolton self-surrendering, communism, and more. All on this tremendous and lovely Friday. We made it through another busy week, but we're not done yet. Quick preview on what's coming up. Then we will dive in for further detail. We got some juicy stuff cooking today. A letter came out from a bunch of senators very unhappy with Jack Smith's spying on their cell phones. Lindsey Graham in particular, like, what? And Marcia and the rest of them now sending a letter over to Pam Bondi saying, we've got some pretty deeply disturbing revelations here. He has our phone records. And so now they're very upset about it. Didn't care too much when they were spying on Trump's campaign or censoring the rest of us or basically silencing us and pressuring us. Impeding our civil liberties is the theme. Well, they sent this over to Bondi now saying, you better investigate this dude and disbar him. And Tuberville is back again saying that Jack Smith should be thrown in jail. Which is true. So hopefully that's coming soon. We got that. We're going to go and hear a little bit more from Marsha Blackburn and Jack Posobiec. What's up, Jack? And all that coming up before we turn our attention to Bolton, because John Bolton self-surrendered today, brought himself into the courthouse to turn himself in and get booked and processed and all the things. And we've got video of him going in. And we got video of him coming out. And man, this coming out video is hilarious because our friend Ivan Raiklin was over there and he was getting into it with Abby Lowell, the defense attorney extraordinaire for the most corrupt people on the left. And of course, Abby Lowell now representing John Bolton, Tish James, and a bunch of other people. It's ridiculous. So we'll go into that. We've got updates on the docket. You can see notices of appearance are coming skidding in here on the docket. Let's do a refresh. Oh, don't you love when that happens? Here, 30 minutes ago, we didn't see these things. And now, boom, here they are, fresh out of the oven. Case management order, conditions of release. He was just there, so we're waiting for the docket to get updated. And they're like, the show's starting. Publish the docs. Thank you for your attention. So we'll go through that. We got reaction. We've got a mind map that has been assembled, and John Bolton has responded to the charges. So we've got his statement, Abby Lowell's statement, and we'll piece together everything that's going on there. Then it's Tish time, baby, because she's got an OnlyFans grandniece. Oh, gosh. All right, so it's going to be a PG-13 show, I guess. And there's her and her dude flashing stacks of cash. I wonder if that cash was supposed to go to the mortgage company to pay the appropriate interest rates, but we'll come back to that. We'll go into it because Tish now also has her lawyers skidding in here. And so how enjoyable is this? Just indictments all across the place. And we get to be updated and apprised on them. So now we've got lawyers coming crashing in for Tish. We'll see what the latest is. She's got her first arraignment next week on the 24th. And so they've issued us now an order for what's going to be happening there. And Tish is not going to be happy about this because food is not permitted in the courtroom. So leave your snacks at home there, Letitia. So we got all that coming up. We'll see what is happening because she was also screaming about this out there. We've got updates then. We'll wrap things up talking about the No Kings protest that's happening this weekend. And guess who's paying for it? And guess who's sponsoring it? Well, the communists, as you can expect. And so we'll go through this. Mark Wayne Mullen, some congressional representatives, we're all talking about this. And it's going to be happening this weekend. So they're calling out the communists. And George Soros is also funding the whole, or maybe not the whole thing, but a large portion of the thing. So we'll go through it. We got Harmeet Dillon. We'll take a look at what they're expecting to do. They've got a bunch of posts on their website in Espanol for their illegal aliens. And we got some clips on this, so we'll see what the latest is. Over with the No Kings rally and the dorks who are going to be there protesting over the weekend. So it's going to be a great stream, my friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel and for liking this video wherever it is you're watching this puppy. In lieu of a sponsor today, we've got our friend, you know him as the Lectern leader. We have, of course, had him here on the channel. We've done some interviews with our friend Adam Johnson, and he is now the author of a brand new book called Taking a Stand. And he made this post some time ago. Your boy got his hands on a hard copy, and I'm starting to read through it. Look at this dude. Sharp dude. Look at all those words in there. Oh my goodness. So it's a great book that I'm starting to read, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. But what you can see is he posted this. It's now available. And you remember him. He was the guy who got thrown through the media for just taking a nice photo. This guy right here. And he's over on X at Lectern Leader. And he posted this. Remember, he was put through the ringer after January 6th, a really good man and a good husband and father and all the things. Says, almost 5 years ago, the government told me I couldn't sell a book. For over 2 of those, I was told I wasn't allowed to speak. After being pardoned by President Trump this year, those rules meant to keep me from sharing my journey are now gone. This is my story. Pre-orders are open. And he'll sign your pre-orders. So go check it out. I'm going to repost this. I already have done that, I guess. So check it out. He's over at Lectern Leader. We also put a link to the website, unlicensedfurnituremovers.com. Unlicensedfurnituremovers.com. And when you go over there, you can get a book and support his work because he has done a lot to spread the truth about January 6th, and we want to support him. So check that out. Links are in the description below. He is a good dude, and we want to support his book. So thank you for doing that. If you're interested, I think it'll be well worth it. So check that out. Links in the description below. And shout out to the Lectern guy over there at Lectern Leader on X. All right, so now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Jack Smith is under pressure. The senators are very unhappy with him. He shouldn't have spied on their phones. It's okay if he spies on everybody else, but not the senators. And so they got together and they sent over a letter to Pam Bondi. You can see a bunch of them came out and signed this one. Marsha Blackburn, Lindsey Graham, who's real nervous about those phone records, Tommy Tuberville, Dan Sullivan, and Mike Kelly, all members of Congress, sending this over to the Board of Professional Responsibility and to Pam Bondi. And so we're going to come back to the letter, but here is what Marsha Blackburn, the top line signatory of the document, had to say. You know, Jack Smith, she says, was a rogue special counsel on a weaponized witch hunt against Republican senators. It's like, yeah, and Trump and everybody else who got caught up in this. There must be consequences for this abuse of power. I just sent a letter to Pam Bondi urging the DOJ to investigate him. And so here's what she said. Also, Jack Smith is becoming a household name, and not for very good reasons. Today, I sent a letter to Bondi calling on the DOJ to investigate Jack Smith for the Biden FBI spying scandal. He must be held accountable for targeting his political opponents. Here's Marsha Blackburn explaining.
Well, Jack Smith is becoming a household name, and not for very good reasons.
He was already kind of a household name if you were on the left, or if you paid attention to this show, because we talked about him a lot, because he's not even a real boy, completely illegitimate, and his cases both failed. So what a loser too, not even effective. But for the left, remember, they were very excited about Jack Smith. They were following him in and out of Subway sandwich stations. And you had people on MSNBC be like, oh, that's a nice looking footlong. I'd like to, join him for a footlong. You're like, what are you talking about over there? Joe Brzezinski? Weird.
Know that under his leadership as the special counsel for Arctic Frost, that during that operation, they spied on 8 U.S. senators. I'm leading a letter to DOJ to start an investigation on this. Well,
and they cut it. All right. So thank you for the video from Marsha. So she sent this one out. She says, all right, Pam Bondi, we write today following last week's deeply disturbing revelations that the Biden DOJ spied on duly elected members of Congress, specifically seeking and ultimately obtaining, quote, tolling data from cell phones as part of its corrupt, politically motivated Arctic Frost investigation. They say It is clear to us that this invasion of our privacy, the senator's privacy, was nothing more than a fishing expedition geared towards targeting President Trump. And for the reasons outlined below, we request that you immediately refer Jack Smith to the Department of Professional Responsibility, OPR, because he's been a bad boy. Now, as part of his weaponized witch hunt, right, the senators, the Biden DOJ issued subpoenas to several telecommunications companies in 2023. They wanted our cell phone records, and they got them. Got access to time, recipient, duration, and location of calls placed on our devices from January 4th to January 7th. All 8 of those senators. Dang, man. Yikes. We have yet to learn, and that is such a strange thing, because what if they were doing something a little bit strange? What if, they were off at some location or at a mistress's house, or they were out, at 2 a.m. doing something like Hunter Biden was doing or whatever? Like, doesn't that expose them to blackmail opportunities, and they could be taken advantage of, where they were just digging for something? Now, we have yet to learn, this was our question from the beginning, of any legal predicate. Why? What was the basis for it? And what amongst them provide some commonality? Why did they go after all this list of people? No idea. Why did they issue subpoenas? And as we saw earlier this week, Chuck Grassley also sent a letter to all of the telecom companies, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all of them, Lumen, someone else. And he said, who approved this on your end? How dare you just give up senator records over to the executive branch? Who's your lawyers? Who's on your legal counsel team? The CEO approved this? What's the process? While we await further details on these troubling revelations, and now Jack Smith is out with Andrew Weissman, and they're doing the media tour to try to get ahead of the story. So we found these troubling revelations as to the DOJ and the FBI, and we're going to continue to investigate. But one thing is clear, Pam. Jack Smith was a rogue special counsel. He wasn't even a legitimate one, who, based on his conduct in the Arctic frost matter, would do anything to stop President Trump. And he basically inherited the Arctic frost case from Timothy Thibault. I think that's how you say his name. It's French. Including taking concerted steps to spy on duly elected members of Congress. They did everyone else. So, yeah. In the United States, one of the fundamental principles of our constitutional republic, that's nice to see that, is the concept of separation of powers. By infringing on our constitutional rights and obligations as elected federal officials, Jack Smith and his team of goons, Jay Bratt, Thomas Wyndham, they trampled on this separation of powers principle that underlies our system of government. This is especially true given the invasion of our privacy. It was directly connected to our core legislative functions, which are all protected by the Constitution, the speech or debate clause. Now, in addition to these constitutional concerns, we believe that Jack Smith engaged in serious prosecutorial misconduct. Without any sufficient rationale or cause at all, Jack Smith's team used a federal grand jury subpoena. And so we're learning more about that. We didn't know exactly if they were like requests or what, to obtain phone records. And so what was the federal grand jury impaneled for? Was it related to any other investigation, open investigation? Was it related to the Trump grand juries? Or was it something else? They maybe didn't get charged. To obtain the phone records of sitting senators and members of the House. To the best we can tell, Smith's team went on a fishing expedition for one simple reason. The commonality: we are Republicans who support Trump, that's it. And as noted, we have no knowledge of any predicate that underlines the invasion of our privacy. They're mad, man. To that end, upon the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, once we get all the documents and records, we urge you to refer Jack Smith and any of his prosecutors who assisted in the issuance of these subpoenas to the 9 members of Congress and their records to the Office of Professional Responsibility. It's like, oh gosh. As you know, the mission of OPR is to ensure that the department attorneys perform their duties in accordance with the highest professional standards. They probably will approve it. Like, oh, Jack Smith, he went after Trump and Republicans. That is our standard. Are you attacking Republicans? Great. You've passed the test. You've met the standard. Great. From the information we already know, it's clear that he fell far below the highest professional standards. It doesn't matter, honestly. I mean, it should matter. I'm not happy that it doesn't, but Fani Willis was indicting her special counsel, repeatedly, sometimes probably multiple times a day. It's disgusting. And they were sending thousands of text messages, and they were scheduling themselves 2-hour debrief lunches on their calendar. And nothing happened. She got reelected. Nobody referred her to the state bar or anything like that. Office of Professional Responsibility is obviously a federal entity. And part of the, not a state level governance body, but it's ridiculous to think that they're going to care. Okay. Tish can do whatever she wants. Jack Smith was getting glowing endorsements for the 2 years he was doing this. Nobody stepped in. Nobody filed a complaint. Now the senators are upset about it. Jack Smith should be prosecuted. This is the precursor to that. We'll see what happens. He wasn't even legitimate. He wasn't even lawfully appointed. Merrick Garland was the one who signed that order. Merrick Garland should also be responsible for this. Garland, Monaco, everybody up the chain. Smith is licensed to practice law in both Tennessee and New York, and in both jurisdictions, the rule of professional conduct strictly prohibit a lawyer from using means that have no substantial purpose other than to embarrass and delay and attack a person, which again was this whole operation. It is blatantly clear, right, the senators, that by seeking these phone records without our knowledge and consent and without any known legal predicate, Jack Smith violated the rules of professional conduct. And they're intended to prevent this type of stuff from happening. Obviously, that failed. Now, upon completion of your investigation, we promptly urge you to refer the findings to both Tennessee and to New York. So you investigate, then pass it off to them, and then they can revoke his licenses. We firmly believe that upon examination of these findings, these state entities should consider all options in holding him accountable for his misconduct, including disbarment. Now, the conduct that he and his team engaged in harkens all the way back to a dark chapter in American history. And we have not seen this since the days of J. Edgar Hoover. And the completely corrupt investigation and prosecution by the FBI and the DOJ of the late Senator Ted Stevens of Alaska. We must ensure that we never return to these disgraceful eras. And we were just in it. Thank you for your attention to this urgent matter and for your continued work to root out the two-tiered justice system that for far too long has existed in the disgusting bowels of the DOJ. Signed by Marcia, Lindsay, Dan, Tommy, and Mike, all also being copied to Tennessee and New York. New York, their grievance, Tennessee might do something about it because they're not totally nuts. But New York, I think they're just going to go, oh, great. Oh, so Jack Smith went after President Trump? Perfect. They might give him a medal and a commendation. Ridiculous. So that is the letter that got sent out. And here is a little bit more from Tuberville. He signed the letter. He said, Jack Smith shouldn't even be able to get a job as a dog catcher after he spied on 8 U.S. senators. He should be disbarred and thrown in jail. Now, that jail part didn't make it into the letter, but here's what Tuberville had to say about this.
Well, first of all, if you do it to a sitting United States senator, 8 of us, you'd do it to anybody. And so it kind of sets a precedent. Jack Smith shouldn't be able to get a dog catcher's job after all this is over with. Marcia Blackburn and I are trying to look into a situation where we can get him disbarred. There's no reason for him to be able to practice law in this country by going through these rules that he's trying to break.
No, he shouldn't be able to practice law. He shouldn't be able to go out and walk his dog around the block of the neighborhood because he'll be in jail. He can go walk the yard. All right, so we'll see if that happens. Now, ultimately, I think they're probably inching towards some deep maybe prosecutions and investigations that will emanate from the priors, the Comey, the Boltons, and just follow the dominoes where they lead. So hopefully Jack Smith is next on the list. But here was our friend Jack Posobiec over on Real America's Voice talking with Marcia about this.
Yes, and Jack, it wasn't the first time. In 2016, when I vice chaired President Trump's transition, we found out then that the transition team was being spied on. But the Biden DOJ would never give us any specifics about that. Now, what we did find out was that they spied on us after January 4th to January 7th of 2021. The way they did that, in May of 23, they sent a letter to our wireless carriers and demanded, they had a subpoena and demanded our phone records. Everybody we talked to where we were physically located when we either made or received a call, and every call and every number that came into us or went out
Yikes.
from our phone during that period of time. Now, we also are looking at September. It appears that there's the May date and there's also a September date. In addition to this, I have sent a letter to the D.C. bar regarding Jack Smith and his conduct, and calling for a review by the D.C. bar, filed a complaint with them. In addition, 5 of my colleagues joined me on a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, requesting that DOJ begin an investigation into the conduct of Jack Smith. And of course, he should be disbarred. The groundwork we are laying are things that would call for his disbarment. And what we know is this is not only an invasion of privacy and an infringement of our free speech, but it is also an infringement of the speech and debate clause. For a wireless company to give your records over and this is not something, we're not criminals, we're not people that were a flight risk, any of that. What they did was to turn those records over, and it shows you how weaponized this CR-15 unit that Jack Smith used as he investigated President Trump, how they were so politicized. And thank goodness Kash Patel has fired everybody that was affiliated with that unit.
That's good news. So reforms are underway, and now the senators are activated. They're not happy with their phone records getting spied on. Trump's campaign gets spied on. Like, well, can we have the records about that? Like, no. They're like, okay, well, anyways, let's talk about something else. And they just moved on to the next thing. Meanwhile, the Biden administration was weaponized from top to bottom. And we were all victims of it, right? An oppressive government. If you had your speech censored, if you were called a right-wing extremist, if you were told by Joe Biden from the gates of hell in his speech that you're going to enjoy a winter of misery and death because you're a MAGA extremist, or whatever that was, your government was censoring you. And maybe you weren't saying anything on the internet, but if they were censoring other people, then they were censoring the information that came to you, which makes you the victim of the censorship. We were all abused repeatedly. Not all of us had our phones spied on, probably, but we know that there were 30 million lines of other phone data that was apparently gobbled up, and the Senate, didn't really care all that much until they got brought into it, but we're happy they're into it. Like John McClane said, welcome to the party, pal. Nice to have you here. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on this. Jack Smith does belong in jail, just like Tuberville said, and we'll keep focusing on this until that happens. All right. Good Jack Smith segment. Now, let's talk about someone else. We got Jack, we got Bolton, we got Tish. What a glorious Friday it is, huh? We are entering the golden age, aren't we? So here it is. John Bolton self-surrenders, charged with numerous counts of felony espionage in Maryland, and he showed up to self-surrender today. We've got video of him going in and video of him coming out, and the video coming out is even better than going in. Trust me. So we're going to go through it, see what the latest is. We've also got now some updates on the docket because he has self-surrendered, so the court did a couple things. And we're going to see what the latest is. Release conditions just came out. Case management order just came out, and more. But here, of course, is some background on the charges. We went through the full indictment. There was a lot going on there. So we wanted to simplify this up a little bit. But remember, the indictment had really 2 batches of charges, 2 bundles of charges. Here we had 8 counts of transmission of national defense information. He was sending little love letters back to himself on his AOL account. Then we had 10 counts of possession. He had documents that were classified and inappropriate at his residence. And yesterday we were asking questions about who individual 1 was and who individual 2 was. And they were the people to whom Bolton was messaging the documents. And so I dug into that yesterday. A lot of people are reporting that it was his wife and his daughter. Wife is called Gretchen Smith Bolton. Here's a photo from them walking their way into some event. And we also have Jennifer Sarah Bolton, and I think it's 1 and 2 respectively. Why do I think that? Because individual 1, they say, was somebody who resided in the District of Maryland. I'm guessing that's Bolton's wife who lives with him. And individual 2 did not have that, okay? So she's living, I think, out of state somewhere else, and I found this document that she's doing something with sports over in Nashville this year. 26, Junior League of Nashville president, 26 to 27. So that's who those people are. And right after John Bolton was booted out, remember, they formed the group chat before he even took the position. One day, the day before he officially began, they formed this little family group chat, right? And they said, this is for the diary in the future. One highlight from the indictment. Then we also saw that in July of 18, he said, more stuff is coming. And they knew that they were not supposed to be talking about it because he said that in the indictment. None of which we talk about right there. None of which we talk about. And said, don't talk about it. Someone else says, the wife says, shh, don't talk about it. Quiet, keep it quiet, because they're transacting in classified documents. Then we fast forward, and he was limiting some documents. This is only for individual 2. Individual 1, you can't see that. So daughter can get it, but the wife can't. Then we have 1,000 pages of material is what the indictment says was ultimately sent. Thousands of pages of notes memorializing his entire tenure. He also did this so he could write a book, and he got $1 million book deal in exchange for stealing classified information that he wasn't entitled to. And then, of course, we saw Iran hacked his AOL account. Insane. He was sending messages to himself. They hacked it. They blackmailed him, and he didn't tell the FBI about any of that. He just kind of said, well, and deleted his whole AOL account after he was being blackmailed. Now, they found a bunch of stuff in there. Remember, this came from the search warrant addendum. And if you'll notice, down here in the bottom of this document, it says weapons of mass destruction right there is what they walked out of the building with, documents about weapons of mass destruction. So all this was done for allegedly the reason of writing a book. I don't really believe it, but here is the book, The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir from John Bolton. Hope it was worth it, John, your $1 million. He came out with statements after getting charged. And here is what he said yesterday before he made his way into the court building. He said, for 4 decades, I've devoted my life to America's foreign policy and national security, whatever. And again, that's whenever we see that and people rely on that, it's like a lot of attorneys will do this too. Like, I've been in practice for 35 years. I'm like, okay, so what? Like, are you good? Or you've just been a crappy lawyer for 35 years? Like, I don't care if it's a long time. So when you use that as a credential, it could be good. It could be wow, you've been doing this for 55, you've been crushing it. You've been like slam dunking for 4 decades. John has not. We have not been crushing it in international diplomacy or having great success over the last 40 years in all of our wars. Has not led to a stronger America. We can all feel it. We're all sick of the wars. So that's why Trump is in office, ending them. So for 4 decades, no one cares, John. Make it 5, make it 70. No one cares. Unless you can produce something useful, stop saying that. Same with these civil servants. Decades long career. No one cares. Everything's a disaster at the DOJ or the FBI. No one cares. I have devoted my life to America's foreign policy. Maybe you shouldn't have, because it's been pretty bad. I would never compromise those goals, but you did. Iran hacked your email and stole them. I tried to do that during my tenure in the first Trump administration, says John, but I resigned when it became impossible to do so. Donald Trump's reputation, it's President Trump. Punk. His retribution against me began and continued when he tried to block the publication of my book, The Room Where It Happened, before the 2020 election. Did he try to block it, or did the pre-publication review board try to block it? Because it was filled with classified information, like the indictment says. John, what a joke. Then the room where it happened, it became one of his rallying cries. Now I've become the latest target in the weaponizing of the Justice Department to charge his enemies. My book was reviewed and it was approved, and he didn't get charged for anything in the book. The indictment said that specifically. We're not charging him for the book stuff. And they're not charging his wife or daughter for receiving NDIs and burying it. And John didn't have his door kicked in and thrown in shackles. Okay. They summoned him into court and he came and self-surrendered. So don't act like you're being abused. Okay. You were the guy saying that people should get the death penalty like Julian Assange and Snowden, and Trump should be in jail immediately for his classified documents when he was the president in Florida. So he says the FBI was made fully aware when my email was hacked. They say they weren't there. In 4 years of the prior administration, after these reviews, no charges were ever filed by Joe Biden. Do you know why? Because John Bolton was a useful asset for their party, because he was out every day screaming about President Trump, trying to sell his stupid book that nobody cared about. Then came Trump 2, who embodies Joseph Stalin's head of the secret police. Okay, Lev Beria, right? Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Okay, John, it's a little overplayed. These charges are not just about his focus on me, but his intensive efforts to intimidate his opponents to ensure that he alone determines what is said about conduct. I look forward to defending myself and to exposing his abuse of power. We'll see if that happens. It's not looking good, John. We read the indictment and you signed a bunch of documents. You had documents, you had a whole decertification of your home. Abby Lowell said, the underlying facts in this case were investigated and resolved years ago. These charges stem from portions of his personal diaries over his 45-year career. They weren't a diary in his bed table, okay? He sent them to himself on his AOL account that got hacked by the Iranians and disclosed classified materials to his wife and daughter. Records that are unclassified, no. Shared, oh, they admit it, shared only with the immediate family, okay? Did they have classification privileges? No. And known to the FBI all the way back in 21. Like many other public officials, he kept diaries. That's not a crime. Nobody's charging him with writing a diary. It's possession of classified documents and transmission of classified information. And they carved out in the indictment. It's in there specifically. We read through the whole thing yesterday. They're not charging him for the book. That is not a crime. We look forward to proving once again that Bolton did not unlawfully share or store any information. Well, good luck to that. All right, so that's them. Now, they made their way into court today, and here is what it looked like, courtesy of Fox News, who was staked out outside.
Bolton arriving at a United States District Court in Greenbelt, Maryland. He is expected to surrender after being indicted on 18 counts over the alleged mishandling of classified documents. Bolton faces 8 counts of transmission of national defense information and 10 counts of retention of national defense information. Bolton.
And you don't see any felony charges for writing a diary. Okay, it's a little bit more serious than that. So Justice Department came out and they had this to say. Of course, we covered the indictment yesterday, but it was breaking and the rest of the announcements came after. They say a federal grand jury indicted John Bolton, age 76 in Maryland. Serious crimes, mishandling classified info. Now, the indictment charges Bolton with 8 counts. Bondi said 18 counts. 8 for transmission, 10 for retention. There is one tier of justice for all Americans, said Pam Bondi. Anyone who abuses a position of power and jeopardizes our national security will be held accountable. Here goes Pam. We can't help ourselves. I mean, they did it for 4 years. So we have to say this a lot just to make it is fun to say. I mean, it's really enjoyable to say it right now. I can see why they liked it so much, because watch this. No one is above the law. Woo, has a nice ring to it. John, that means you too there, bucko. You too, James Comey. You too, Letitia James. The FBI's investigation revealed he transmitted a bunch of stuff. Lots of quotes here. We read through the full indictment. If convicted, 10 years in prison for each count and 10 years in prison for each transmission count. Times 18 times 10, 180 years. Pretty sure. The FBI field office is investigating the case. Bunch of people worked on it. And now John Bolton has to face the music. But before we watch John Bolton come out of the courtroom and his lawyer get into it with Ivan, here is what John said in 2023, courtesy of Western Lensman. Thrilled about Trump being indicted. Here's what John had to say back then. I wonder if he still feels the same. Great question.
Well, I think it's a devastating indictment. It's very powerful in the way that it's portrayed, but it's also very narrow, very targeted. The government didn't throw everything in the kitchen sink at the wall. It has focused this in a way that I think, as a matter of law, is going to be very difficult for the president to resist. I think the real question is the question of timing and scheduling. You know, if Donald Trump were an honest man, if he were an innocent man, he'd be saying, I want the trial within 30 days. I want this cloud removed from over my head. I want this stain on my reputation removed. So we'll wait and see what Donald Trump does. I think he'll try and postpone it to after the 2024 election. So my suggestion to Jack Smith and the Justice Department is go lean on the Manhattan District Attorney and get him to move his trial until after the election. This trial should take precedence. We'll find out whether Alvin Bragg...
Wow, so he's actually encouraging Jack Smith to go collude with Alvin Bragg. Guess what? That all happened, by the way. And it wasn't Jack Smith and the Florida classified documents case. It was Jack Smith and the January 6th case in front of Judge Chutkan, because Chutkan was trying to race this thing through before Trump appealed it and said, oh yeah, you've got to go find out what immunity means there, judgy. And they took it up to SCOTUS, and she had to ultimately dump the case. And Jack lost that one too. But that was not before they moved Alvin Bragg's case up, right? That was going to be after these, and they moved it back up. Or somebody moved something, and I think maybe Chutkan moved her case, whatever it was. All these judges were colluding. The dates got moved around because they were just trying to make sure they could get felony convictions settled on the president before the election. And they did that. Of course, it didn't matter at all. It was completely inconsequential because everybody saw the hoax for what it was and how rigged that entire trial was. But here's the rest of Bolton.
Is a real prosecutor or a political hack? The answer to their complaint about a double standard, the question they should be asked is, even though Biden has escaped scot-free, Clinton has escaped scot-free, fill in the blank has escaped scot-free, is the answer to the double standard to let Donald Trump escape scot-free? Is the answer to the double standard to revert to no standard at all? I think that's wrong.
Well, we have a standard, yeah. Trump beat his case because Jack Smith was an illegal prosecutor and had to be thrown off the case. Illegally appointed. The money was illegally appropriated there, John. That's not the case with your prosecutor. Your prosecutor is duly appointed. And so good luck with that strategy. But that was John out there. We'll see if he goes and files for an immediate trial. We now have some documents out. In fact, let's take a look at these. And here is one. Order setting conditions of release, courtesy of the Maryland District Court in the case of United States of America versus John Bolton. Now, here is the latest. John, don't violate any laws while you're on release. You must give a DNA sample. All right, so you're going to have to move that mustache out of the way. We're going to have to get in that cheek there. The defendant must be approved to work with pretrial services. Let us know in writing before you're going to move or anything. Advise us of where you are. And if there's a sentence, you're going to serve. You're going to come in and serve. Now, here, as it looks like denoted, you must appear as maybe denoted is what this judge wrote. Any additional conditions of release, he promises to appear. This box is checked. So you're going to be released on the condition of what? I promise to appear. That's it. Okay, that's good enough. Sometimes you have to have a bond. Sometimes they don't release you. They just say, nope, we're going to keep you in custody because we don't trust your word. So he'll come back. Any other additional conditions? Yes, a couple others. Surrender your passport. Oh, do not obtain a passport, John. You're grounded, buddy. Or travel documents. Passport to somebody immediately. And you must abide by the following restrictions. So you're not going over to some other country over there, Johnny. And you must only stay within the continental United States unless approved in advance by the court. So no overseas trips, John. We don't trust you. So you're going to have to stick around for a while. Everything else acknowledged by John Bolton himself, signing that today in court, October 17th, in front of the magistrate judge, not the case assigned judge, but another judge who helps kind of with the preliminary hearings out there. That is the release conditions. Now, there was also a case management order. And so let's see if John requested a trial in 30 days. Let's see what we've got here that just dropped. All right, this case management order in the case of John Bolton, fresh out of the oven on this one, has now been established by the court. And a lot of this is going to be boilerplate stuff, but let's see what it says. The government must produce all materials per the rules of disclosure. All pretrial motions must come in before November 14th, except for motions in limine. We're going to have an initial status conference November 21st. Again, all the parties do what you need to do, right, as part of a criminal case, any pending motions, if we're going to need hearings. And we need a joint status report. So here's the trial, or here's the schedule. 30 days before trial. Let's see if they scheduled the trial date for us. Voir dire, internet citations, audio, video exhibits, right? All standard stuff, just kind of standard case management order, follow the rules, exchange discovery. We're going to have certain hearings coming up. This is our schedule out of Maryland. And so now you are apprised. So nothing too substantive there. We did see that we have an initial appearance that took place. John Bolton came in, entered a plea of not guilty as to all 18 charges before the judge, and then we got the release conditions. We also have Abby Lowell, who we're going to hear about in just a minute. Abby Lowell has now entered his appearance on behalf of John Robert Bolton. And Abby Lowell is the same attorney who represented Hunter and got him convicted of all 3 counts in the gun charges, so didn't have a good job on outcome on that one. Also represented Menendez, who's going to prison. Bob Menendez, the Democrat Gold Bar Bob senator. Didn't do so hot over there. But now he's representing John Bolton. So good luck, John. Yeah, we'll see how this one works out for you. Not so good. But what happened was Bolton was in court today, and he came out of court. And here's what Politico, or the AP, captured for us. Okay, let's see. Coming up. There's John.
Mr. Bolton, how are you feeling?
Hey,
Do you
Mr.
think this
Bolton,
case's gonna
is
get to
Mike
trial?
Pence going to be ensnared in the conspiracy to defraud the country?
Okay, that's Abby
Where's
Lowell.
Abby Lowell? What are you doing, sir? Doing pretty good? What's your name? My name's Ivan Rake. I want to shake your hand.
Hey, my name's Ivan Rakelin. We've seen him before, right? We met him at AmFest. Funny dude. And that's Abby Lowell. So that is Hunty's lawyer, now Bolty's lawyer, also Tishy's lawyer. I think the fired CDC director's lawyer. I think he's also working for Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve sorority sister. Remember that? So this dude is representing like the worst of the worst Democrats. And Ivan is having a conversation with him.
In the conspiracy to defraud the country? Where's Abby Lowell? What are you doing, sir? Doing pretty good? What's your name? My name's Ivan Rakelin. I want to shake your hand. Ivan Rakelin's my name. What's your name? Is it Abby Lowell?
Yep.
Please keep your distance. Is it Abby Lowell? Guess what? We talked over at when you were trying to defend Hunter Biden and the Biden criminal syndicate over in Delaware last year, wasn't it? I'm the guy that asked you what kind of crack you smoke, Mr. Biden. Yeah, that was me. And you asked me, who do I work for? I work for myself. The American people are wondering, why are you representing Jim Comey? Why are you representing John Bolton?
All right. Great questions. Yeah, what kind of crack was he smoking? No, I don't know. Abby didn't want to talk about it. All right, so he's representing John Bolton, and good luck to John. I mean, we don't actually mean that. We hope he pays the appropriate penalty once justice is served. But John is no longer in the foreign policy game, okay? And the president is handling it appropriately. And so a little bit of a content warning coming up. Put the earmuffs on the children, but maybe not, because it's coming from the president. This is American excellence in hand right here. And so the president is explaining kind of a new theme that's going on. He's going to be talking about Venezuela and Maduro when he says this phrase, but this is really a phrase that extends beyond foreign policy, now to domestic policy and other things. We've got actual leaders in charge who care about America and are delivering. And here's what the president said in this vein.
Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Maduro offered everything in his country.
Don't mess around with the United States, all right? John, James, Jack, Tish, Lisa. Don't F around with America anymore. No one's above the law. Justice is coming for you, whether you're Maduro or Bolton or Jack Smith or the rest of them. So, what a glorious season it is. The golden age is upon us, my friends. Can't you feel it in your bones? We'll keep our eye on this case. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. Yeah, I know. It's a good one. It's a good clip. I know. All right, you can take the earmuffs off your kids. I don't think there's any more. Actually, keep the... All right, now you can take the earmuffs off, but put the eyeglasses on the kids. All right, put the eyeglasses on the kids. We have to talk about Tishy's family. Get him a coloring book or something, because we got to talk about Tish now. Oh, gosh. Here we go. Tish's family gets worse, not looking good now that an OnlyFans model who is a fleeing criminal is also discovered living in her residence. You can see the headline here is an exclusive over from the New York Post. They say that she's housing a criminal OnlyFans model at her other Virginia property, which was also under investigation. A second criminal family member in Virginia. Her grandniece is called Kayla Thompson Hairston, age 21. She's an OnlyFans star. Oh, gosh. With a public X-rated social media presence. We're not going to be looking at those, obviously. Was charged in April about lying about her felony criminal record when she tried to buy a gun in Virginia. She was legally disqualified from owning a firearm in August 2020. Because of a felony charge of malicious wounding, this woman, which Virginia law defines as a crime in which a person shoots, stabs, cuts, or wounds any other person with the intent to maim, disfigure, disable, or kill. Sounds like just the perfect Democrat, honestly, because that's how they think. Thompson was a juvenile at the time, and the records of that case are sealed. Wow. And the weapons charges were also later dropped because that was pleaded down to a misdemeanor. Okay, so she wasn't actually a felon. And so that's interesting. So I wonder if she was kind of mischarged. Now, in 2019, when Kayla was 15, she was also caught up in the criminal hijinks of her big sister, Nakia Thompson, who is also a wanted fugitive by North Carolina authorities with a slew of arrests. Here's a photo. Oh, gosh. That is the grandniece, Kayla Thompson Hairston. OnlyFans star with a public presence. Her social media profile includes photos of her naked and flashing cash. She recently announced she was pregnant, posted a bunch of videos about that. Both family members live in houses owned by James that have been at the center of federal criminal scrutiny. James is currently facing 60 years in prison for bank fraud and false statements. And here's another photo of this individual. Flashing cash. I wonder where they got all that cash. I wonder if they paid some of that cash to Tishy. Is Tish pocketing OnlyFans generated cash? Is she profiting off of the sexual exploitation of her family members? Wow. New Yorkers probably wouldn't care at all, but she would. I mean, that's what they do. Here's another one. Arrested multiple times. James said that the property which she bought in 2020 was a second home and that she would occupy it, but she didn't. The feds say she moved her family in and collected rent on the property after she bought it. She's denied the wrongdoing, told a federal grand jury. Someone said that I don't pay rent when she went in there. The under fire AG covers the cost, but do not reside at the home. And here's bathing suit photos. Yeah, all right. So here's the tale of two homes. Grandniece Nakia Monique Thompson moved into James's second home. This one was bought in 2020. This one bought in 2023. James's niece Shamise lives here with daughters, OnlyFans model Kayla and Courtney Hairston. And that's a perfect photo of Tish right there. Look how agitated she is. That's Letitia James. She's lived there 16 years on the same street. I've never seen her here, ever. Yeah. Kayla lives at another house that she owns. And James lives in New York. Co-signed a mortgage. Look at these. Gosh, just terrible photos of these people. There's more booty photos. There's the house. During the arrest, officers said one of the sisters swore at him. So they went to go investigate what's going on here, told him, get the F off of her. Thompson was also hit with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, as we talked about. There's more cash. Here is what she posted on this video, on this message. She says, point of view. All the old head washed out OG dancers trying to hate, fight, and talk crap because you a new, young, pretty dancer making money. Okay, so maybe she strips or something. You know, there's her pregnant belly. And in April, James got a federal criminal referral. Abby Lowell, representing her, called the referral meritless and said this was just revenge for her political attacks against Trump to the tune of $500 million. So in a twist that feels like deja vu, James got indicted for bank fraud, same allegations that she made against Trump, and signed a second home rider. And it's just, what a family, huh? All right, so that's what's happening there in reality. In the courtroom, we also see Tish has got a bunch of lawyers. So she's arming up. You can see one of them entered their appearance, and we know some of these names. Tish is here, but we've got a bunch of attorneys. Okay, so this guy, Andrew Boss, another one. Her initial appearance is set for next week. Here is Abby Lowell. We didn't see much of this stuff get filed until yesterday. Then we have other people coming in. David Kolansky, somebody called Isabella Oishi. So she's got like 4 lawyers. Judge grants them from coming in. Some people are not licensed in this district, but they're coming in here. And the judge is approving them. Okay, you can come in, you can come in, you can come in. Order granting, granting, granting. Then we got the arraignment coming up, and the judge has given us some guidelines on this. Tish cannot bring any snacks with her. Here's the details from the court. The arraignment of Tish James will begin promptly on Friday at 11 a.m. Friday, October 24th. First floor of the courthouse. Courthouse opens at 8:30. Because seating will be limited, courtroom 1 will be reserved for overflow. They will have screens in there that you can watch what's happening in courtroom 5. The hearing, though, will not be delayed for transmission issues at all. All seating in courtroom 5 and 1, first come, first serve. And we want appropriate decorum to be maintained. We'll see if Tish takes off her shoes. Food and water are not permitted in either courtroom. Members of the media will be treated identically to other members of the public. The court will not issue media passes, will not designate special seating. Any media personnel who are unable to obtain a seat have to go to a different courtroom. Now, we also think that there's going to be a lot of security, and there might be delays. Attendees should plan their arrival times accordingly to avoid delays. Be aware of all our security at this link. And you need to present valid photo ID to get in. All visitors, including members of the media who wish to bring a cell phone or smartwatch into the courthouse, will be required to power them off and place them in a yonder patch. The pouch will be locked by a court security officer when you enter and unlocked when you leave. No cell phones. Further details about the courthouse electronics policy can also be found here. Signed by Judge Jamar out in Norfolk, Virginia, in the criminal division against Tishy. Now, Tish was out, and she was very unhappy with this. Man, look at that face. She's going to enter facial spasm zone again. Here's what she had to say.
Well, first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, an unlawful act. And so, too, is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing.
Wow, she sounds nervous. You can almost hear it in her voice.
It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence.
No, it wasn't. The Court of Appeals actually scolded you, said, how dare, like, why would you even bring this claim? You ran for office to go take out Trump. It was baseless. Nobody was injured. There was no victim at all. And you weaponized your office to try to take him out to the tune of $500 million while you were committing mortgage fraud, your own.
And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed.
Yeah.
But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time...
Yeah, it was meaningless. Okay, it was meaningless.
And we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday.
Yeah, it is.
I visit Norfolk quite frequently.
Content
my
warning.
family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges. And I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless and I am totally innocent. Thank you.
Yikes. She's nervous. You can tell. We've watched a lot of Tish here. Way too much. More Tish than I would recommend to anybody. But that was a different attitude that we saw from her. Totally baseless. She seems nervous. You can hear the quivers in her voice. So Tish, her family, and others now being held to account for this little mortgage fraud scam that they were all engaged in while they were doing their OnlyFans pornography. Now, justice will be served, and she'll be in court next week. We'll keep our eyes on this one. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, one more update, my friends, then we'll hear from you. And this is also curious. Communists are running the No Kings rally. We all knew that, but now it's official. They have a list of all their sponsors, and a bunch of people in Congress are calling this out. Mark Wayne Mullen, a senator, said, the No Kings anti-Trump rally is literally sponsored, by the Communist Party of America. Yeah, it's true. Here, they posted this. No Kings, October 18th, 11 a.m. at this location. Look at all these people who are sponsoring this thing. And what you'll notice is something like this right here. Young Communist League. Oh, of New York, the communists are out. Yeah. Here's another one you can see over here. CPUSA. Oh, the Communist Party of the United States. Yeah, they're communists. And all of these other things are basically communism, okay? You can see stuff like anytime somebody says that they're a socialist, like this one, New York Democrat Socialist of America. That's a communist. They're just trying to change their label. No different than a dude who says he's a woman or whatever. We know you're a communist, okay? We can see it dangling between your legs. So, strong economy for all. Rise and resist. New York Communities for Change. Vocal Action Fund. They're all communists. And they're going to be rallying in favor of anti-American causes. Congressman Brandon Gill calling it out too. He says it's literally sponsored by the commies. You can see it. And CNN is explaining what to expect. They said, here's what to know. More than 2,500 demonstrations are going to be happening. 50 states, and they're even going over to the UK, apparently. So if you go over to their little dumb website, which is very dumb, as we're going to see, they've also got No Kings protests in places that actually have kings, like the UK, right? Yeah. So no kings in London. See, that seems appropriate since they actually have kings here. We don't have kings. We just had an election. So I don't even know what they're talking about. But it's happening all over America. All these dorks are going to be getting together to talk about, I don't know, whatever. And the people who are funding it, George Soros, helping to fund these protests nationwide. Ted Cruz was also talking about it, saying that his foundations are dumping a lot of money into this. Tens of thousands of protesters, all probably getting paid. Soros, a billionaire investor and notorious Democrat Party donor, founder of Open Society, and this company called Indivisible, they got granted $3 million to support social welfare activities. All that money should just be banned. You know, it should, if it's foreign money and coming through all these, like this nonprofit scam, 501c3s, giving the money over to the 501c4s, all the Normizing democracy, state democracy defenders fund and all these things. They're criminal operations. They're trying to propagandize us, declaring that they're nonprofits and abusing our system. And so our stupid Congress people should fix this and solve this immediately. But if they won't do it, well, then the FBI, Cash, and Pam can all start finding out these networks and finding where the frauds are happening, where they're reporting that this is for this, we're spending our money on this. No, you're not. We know what you're doing. So hopefully all this money is backtraced all the way up to the actual progenitors of it all. and we can get to the bottom of who is funding this type of garbage. Andy No, the Antifa whisperer, says our lives depend on everyone becoming the enemy within. Here are some of the documents that they're sharing right now. Look at these little violent revolutionary communists is what they are. They can call themselves whatever they want. Here, PNW anarchists and anti-fascist, October 8th. The No Kings March is meant to pacify the people. It's organized by feds with an interest in quelling meaningful and effective uprising. F their lib march. Let's show them what fascism and anti-fascism really looks like. Yeah, that's interesting. So this is actually to calm everybody down. We'll see what happens. Someone else posted this. Join us. Become ungovernable. Andy Knows reporting. In an anti-authoritarian and anti-capitalist bloc at the 1018 Minneapolis No Kings protest. Become ungovernable. Bring all your friends, lit, noisemakers, banners, and anything else with the skeleton and a pink mask on. Someone else. October 18th. Increase the tension. That's happening in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And here's another one. Talking about the enemy within. Our lives depend on everyone becoming the enemy within. Okay, so that's from Andy No, just a smattering of those. He's posting here. They've been posting flyers all around the ICE facility in Portland, calling their violent militants to embed themselves in the No Kings protest and to agitate for violence. Liberals and leftists on Reddit are calling it fake right-wingers, like the laser show event that was organized in Rose City. So they just blame the right-wingers, right? Antifa shows up, they cause a ruckus, they say these are right-wingers, just like they did on January 6th. And so a lot of that's going to be happening, no doubt, over the weekend. But they're also not that bright. Apparently, on their website that I just shared with you, our friend Maze Moore over on X, he said you can go over there and they have their chants. So if you want to participate in a chant and you want to get your dorks together and like practice it the night before, they got a script for you. You can just read through it. Unfortunately, their grammar is a little off. You can see that he clipped this Maze Moore, and then our friend Mike Benz drew some very convenient red boxes for us so that if you want to sing along, you can also be incorrect. Trump, you are kingdom, must come down. Trump, you are kingdom, must come down. Oh, I heard the voice of the people say, Trump, you are kingdom, must come down. Idiots. So they just keep doing it. Like, they, you know, and I think the teachers unions are supporting this stupid cause. Morons. All right, so that's them. Here, Anna Paulina Luna said, the real No King's Day was on July 4th, 1776. Okay, we've already had this conversation. Just because you don't like the duly elected president doesn't mean you get to have a hissy fit about it, but they are. Rick Scott says No King's protest is sponsored by multiple commies. This is who Senator Schumer is cowering to and shutting down your government to appease. It's disgusting. And if Chuck Schumer attends this protest, it will be his full endorsement of communism in America. Yeah, and let's see who shows up there and why they like commies. Harmeet Dillon over from the Trump administration made a video about it. She said, happy Friday. Happy Friday, Harmeet. No King's protest today through the weekend, so stay safe out there. We're always hard at work at the Civil Rights Division to uphold your rights to peaceful protest. Here is what she had to say.
Happy Friday, also known here in DC as the No King's Day protest. Everyone will be glad to know that I haven't encountered any kings here in my time working in DC here in the swamp. I have encountered a lot of really hardworking American patriots who are working hard to bring sanity and justice back at the DOJ. Proud to be part of that team. And I hope everyone stays safe from crazy Marxists who have organized this protest today. First Amendment is very important. We believe in that. And I hope everyone stays safe out there.
Nice message from Harmeet Dillon. She's exactly right. There are Marxists out there. Ted Cruz was also explaining there's considerable evidence that George Soros and his network are funding these things. That's exactly why I've introduced an act. Thank you, Ted. Called Stop Funders Act. It lets law enforcement prosecute those who are funding political violence. Here's Ted Cruz on with Fox.
Now, I will say one of the most important things President Trump has done recently is he has pledged that he's going to go after Antifa. And what I've been urging is follow the money, cut off the money. And you look at this No Kings rally, and there's considerable evidence that George Soros and his network is behind funding these rallies, which may well be riots all across the country. And Soros is writing the check. And so I've introduced legislation called the Stop Funders Act that would add rioting to the list of predicate offenses for RICO. Why is that? Because it would let the Department of Justice use RICO, racketeering, to prosecute the money that is funding the anti-Semitic protests on campuses, the pro-open border protest in L.A. and other cities, and these No King protests. Anyone that is supporting rioting and violence, it lets you go after the money. And I'll tell you, there are more than 200 left-wing groups behind these No Kings rallies this weekend. They deliberately are blind to what each of the others are doing. That's part of how they avoid accountability.
Just like terror cells.
RICO is designed for precisely that sort of criminal enterprise. And so I believe the Senate, we ought to take up and vote on and pass our Stop Funders legislation. And I've urged both Pam Bondi at DOJ and Kash Patel at FBI, follow the money and prosecute those who are writing checks funding acts of violence, political violence or otherwise, across the country.
Yep, go after the money and stop these networks that have been riddled with foreign influence and other bad actors that are impacting American politics. We don't want all of that external influence. We have enough of that already. Now, Abbott in Texas prepping up the National Guard, saying that they're calling this the Hate America rally. They're very unhappy about that the Republicans are calling it. Abbott said, we're not allowing violence and destruction in Texas. Go destroy Portland. Get out of here. So we had that. We also had Mike Johnson from this morning explaining who these people ultimately are and what we'll be expecting at the protests tomorrow.
Now, tomorrow, the Democrat leaders are going to join for a big party out on the National Mall. They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much-anticipated so-called No Kings rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America rally, okay? And I'm not sure how anybody can refute that. If you think about what's going to happen here tomorrow, you're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. Now, tomorrow, the Democrat...
And they're going to be out in full force tomorrow, and we'll see if anything consequential comes of it. But who will be there joining and rallying with the communists? Which Democrats will be there? Large numbers of them, and that will tell us who they are. It will expose them for their secretive ideology that they're trying to sneak into the main political discourse in their effort to conduct a slow march through the institutions to end America as we know it, which is why we're glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us as we keep tabs on all of this commie nonsense. We appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing. We'll see you back here on the next one. All right, my friends, what a beautiful stream it has been on this lovely Friday. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about. We had a little Jack Smith update, okay? Senators not happy with him, 5 of them, sent a letter over to the Justice Department, to Pam Bondi. They said, hey, Pam, you better investigate this Jack person for professional responsibility problems and misconduct. And then we'll see where it goes, because Tommy Tuberville has said Jack Smith needs to not only be disbarred, he needs to be thrown in jail. And we're happy to agree with that one. Then we talked about Bolton. Bolton walked his way into court. And then when they walked out of court, Ivan Raiklin had some choice words to say to Abby Lowell and asked him a very important question. What kind of crack was Hunter smoking? What kind? You know, it's curious. Abby probably knows. So we went through that. We got familiar and recollected on the case to parse together what happened. We now know who individuals 1 and 2 are. And so got our bearing straight on that. We saw case management order came out with nothing much consequential there. And we have updates continuing to come out from his his arraignment today, or his self-surrender today. So all that on the Bolton update. President Trump said, "Don't F with America." That was a lot of fun. We talked about Tish's family and her OnlyFans grandnieces or whatever who are living in her residence on which she said that she would be living, in which she said she would be living. And then Tish came out and sounded very nervous in the aftermath of a press briefing about this case. We also talked about the commies attending the No Kings rally, going to be out in full force tomorrow. And of course, we'll have our Saturday members only stream. And so if you want to come join us, we'll see what is going on out there live tomorrow morning. No doubt about it. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you and to see what you say about all of this. It's a lovely Friday. I hope your week was just amazing and you accomplished all the things you set your mind to. We got a couple nice comments in the house. Thank you, my friends, for sending these in. Membo, stick around. We'll do an after party and debrief here in just a few minutes. Off-label podcast. And look at this. Made it. Man, what that fox reminds me of a video game fox or something. What is that from? Happy Friday, my friends. Off-label podcast is here. Says Wall Street Journal had an article saying, "You are not safe," talking about retribution for Bolton, James, and Comey. Dems can't win the midterms or we're all screwed. Yeah, well, I saw Don Lemon was also talking about like getting guns and stuff. Like if you're an illegal, like get a gun. That's what the Second Amendment is for. Shoot the ICE agents if you're here illegally. Yeah. I agree, man. If and when they get power back, it's going to be rough. And we're going to be right in the thick of it. So, you know, we can't let it happen. We also don't want to live in a one-party state, but we don't want the violent revolutionary communists to win because they'll kill us. I'm like literally, they're nuts. Hey, this one, Jedi Trump. What's up, Jedi Trump? These are not the illegal aliens you're looking for, Democrats. Just let them go. Jedi Trump is here. What's up? Ralph L in the house. Paul Ivy, welcome. Adam, good to see you. Matthew Mado, Renee S, all gifted membos courtesy of Jedi Trump. Good to see you, everybody. Welcome aboard. We'll see you in the after party. No doubt about it. And thank you, Jedi Trump, for doing that. What's going on? Off-label. Off-label podcast right next door says, as far as the No Kings protest, I can tell you North Alabama had to remove 3 from their list due to low attendance. Been digging into their funding. Interesting. Yeah, I thought that there was one in Prescott where I live, and then I looked earlier and there's not one. There's one in Prescott Valley, so I think they moved it, which is good. Get out of here. Former LEO. Hey, since Jack Smith's appointment was found to be unconstitutional, does that mean he doesn't and didn't enjoy immunity from acts performed while illegally appointed? Go get him. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a good argument for that. And I think everybody who appointed him also abused their office. Like, why did Merrick Garland appoint an illegitimate person who wasn't properly appointed to go do all of these things? They were delegating the abuse, essentially enabling the abuse. So Jack should be prosecuted for abusing his office, and he knew better too. And everybody was giving them cover. It doesn't matter if the media said that he was legitimate. What he raided Trump's house, or he inherited, the case from the people who raided Trump's house. So yeah, we want accountability top to bottom. Thank you, former Rubos in the house. God bless President Trump. From the Rubos. Good to see you, the Rubos. Trump's talking about over there George Santos and Blumenthal. Yeah, good post. All right, awesome stuff. Thank you, Rubos, for flagging that one for us. Christina. Hey, thank you, Christina. 2 comments, 2 months as a membo. Well, nice to have you. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. Thank you for all you do. You are appreciated. Christina, I appreciate you. Thank you for becoming a membo. Thank you for sending in some donos to support us. Thank you for becoming a part of our community. Amazing. I appreciate your humor and always just giving the facts. Well, we try, we try. Sometimes it's not very funny. I think it's funny, but then I realized that was dumb. But anyways, thank you, Christina. Very glad that you're here. Christina says, Democrats get mad when someone looks into illegal aliens, but they don't care that Dems look into Congress and the American people. Yeah, that's a good point. Where are the Democrat senators upset about senators getting spied on? They don't care. Because it's Republicans. But shouldn't other senators also, where are all the Democrat senators saying, this is outrageous. You can't Can Trump now use his DOJ to go get records of all the Democrat senators? Would they be okay with that? Maybe he should, since they don't care, evidently. Yeah, it's a massive double. They don't even care about the federal employee vis-a-vis illegal aliens and their health care. It's how sick their party is. Wild. Christina, yeah, thank you. Muffin Rando, thank you for the nice donations. Doan, the hypocrisy is thick. Very thick. Yeah, it's thick. If they didn't have hypocrisy and double standards, what would they have at all? Nothing. Mizzy M, hey, good week in the news for justice. It has been. We've gone back to back. I mean, today we had like 3 investigations / prosecutions. Pretty good. Good week for the news and justice. Hopefully someone ends up in prison soon. Well, the train has left the station on some of them. Comey, Bolton, Tish. And we're marching down the line. What's up, this old guy? Hey, the exposure of classified human intelligence directly involves sources and methods. It should be punishable by death, says this old guy. Yeah? I think you're probably making that argument because it could result in the death of those people. And you're, in many cases, exposing that data. The risk of that is that people will die and probably do actively die. We probably never hear about that. Like if Iran took out say John Bolton had in his emails, maybe he had the names of some assets in Iran or an entity in Iran, and they get their hands on it. Those people are done. And you would never hear about that. We would never hear about that, right? That John Bolton was responsible for like 3 undercover CIA assets getting taken out by the Iranians. And if they were, I'm not saying that there are citizens, but if they're assets over there, we would never hear about it. Even if they were our citizens, right? In the movies, they say, oh no, they got in an accident on the I-9 and they're all dead. Like what? The daughter was in the CIA or whatever. You get it. James Kipp. What's up, Rob? Is there a way I can contact you via email? Yeah, definitely. Robert@spotlightlawyer.com is my email. I do read them. I intend to respond to all of them, but I work on that one. That's, not as efficient. I want to. I endeavor to. I yearn to. But thank you, James. Yeah, send me an email. Dark Rogue, what's up? Almost there. Can I be a preemie? 5 months as a membo. I think 5 months is good, right? It's like they come out and you can cook them, just put them on a mat or something. So sure, yeah, I'm down with that. As long as we have one of those mats. Thank you, Dark Rogue, for being here for 5 months. Dark Rogue says, I'm sad. If Congress doesn't do something about these activist judges trampling the articles of the Constitution, we won't have the rule of law at all. Dictatorship says it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Yeah, it's a real battle. I mean, it's a real front line that's happening right now. It's with these judges. We've got rogue judges. We've got really bad judges. We have unethical judges who are also getting together, like 12 of them, and talking to the media. Remember that story? It's ridiculous. Like, the Supreme Court doesn't have our back. It's like, shut up. You guys are so pathetic. They're not supposed to have your back. Are you an adult? Do you even go to law school? Are you a lawyer? Do you know what the Supreme Court does? But no, they don't. They think that they're part of some communist revolution, oligarchical class, and that they should all be working together towards this new social justice. And they violate their ethics by going and talking to the press, talking garbage about the Supreme Court when there's other case law and other disciplinary records and precedent about how bad that is and how it's inappropriate to do it, but they did it anyways. And now we don't know who they are. And Trump can't ask them to recuse from any of the cases since they're so biased and partisan. And they're just operating in the shadows. It's really disgusting. It's completely unethical, totally inappropriate, even if, depending, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. As a federal judge, you shouldn't be talking to the media and talking garbage about the Supreme Court. Totally inappropriate. And they're cowards because they won't even release their names. Just release your names if you want to stand by it and you think it's appropriate. Put your name behind it. They won't because they know it's fraudulent. Hey, what's going on? Rhonda, just Rhonda in the house saying, hey, what's up? 10 membos coming in. Thank you, just Rhonda, for doing this. What's up, Spacey11? Kevin Rossler, Esmeralda Real, April M. What's up, Tom Dunn? Amanda Gale is here. Newport Marina, Bowman 1, Dirge 341, Kat McSee, all gifted membos, courtesy. Just Rhonda in the house, a.k.a. Sassy Gemini on YouTube. Trino Galaxy says it's never been about no kings. It's about their kings and dictators being rejected and denied. Yeah, Trino, we were talking about this morning. We were talking about Plato and Marxists and how Karl Marx, I think, thought of himself like Plato. Plato had this idea that you'd have these like philosopher kings. You'd have this class of guardians. A perfect society would be three classes. You'd have the philosopher guardians, then you'd have the soldiers, and then you'd have the productive, workers, essentially. And the guardian class was this like noble elite group of people who had no property, no families, no kids. They all worked together, and they were the ones who were responsible for governing without any self-interest everyone else in this fictional, Plato's Republic. And Marx thinks the same. Marx thinks that, that they're the scientific elite. Marx dressed it all up in, science language and like mathematical equations, like this is going to be the end of history kind of thing. And what ultimately ends up happening is you get oligarchs, you get dictators who just gobble up the power structure. And all the communists think that they're going to be a part of that. And so they ultimately want total power for themselves. And even if they say they don't, that's how it ends up every time, because it's an evil ideology. It's really disgusting. What's up? Hi, Ken is here. Yeah, it's interesting. Hi, Ken. Good to see you. Yeah. Hey, Ken Krause is here. What's up? Bringing in 5 membos. Thank you, Ken. Eric with a K. Pat Hacker's joining us. Barbara Langdon, like Robert Langdon from the Da Vinci Code. JJ's White is here. Dissident Porcupine, all gifted membos, courtesy of Ken. Muffin Rando calling out Ken Doan. Thank you, too. Welcome aboard, new friends. Abby Lowell says this old guy is going to have to change his approach from meritless to, quote, baseless, so his client will understand. Yeah, he'll explain the thesis to Letitia. She'll be like, glazed over. What? That's law. I don't understand anything you just said. He'll say, we're just going to go in and say it's baseless. She's like, brilliant. How much do you charge? Okay, great. Spuds. Kings have no need for a constitution. Oh, this looks like it's from that one movie. What's it called? Monty's Python or something like that. Yeah. Rob is missing out so much on history. Some things you just have to throw into the dustbin of history, like me watching that movie. Twite! TW Wright is here. If judges continue to make rulings against things SCOTUS has already ruled on, if SCOTUS actually had nuts, would they hold federal judges in contempt? Yeah, it's a great question. And they could, right? Obviously they could. They generally are just reversing things. Like the reason the Supreme Court doesn't want to scold the lower courts or like hold them in contempt or those other things, in my opinion, is because it jeopardizes the institution of the judiciary. And the judiciary, its only real power, really, is judicial review and its credibility, the legitimacy that the public thinks it has. So if SCOTUS comes down and smacks these federal judges and says, you're a bad judge, we're going to hold you in contempt, that judge is going to have that for the rest of their cases. The only way to remove that judge is from Congress. That judge can resign, or Congress can remove him. And maybe if the Supreme Court came back down and hit somebody hard enough, that would instigate Congress to do that. But if not, then otherwise, you've got kind of a scolded judge who's still on the bench in perpetuity. So the Supreme Court, from our perspective, is not really inclined to go and correct all of this. I think it's Congress actually has the stronger check on that if they would actually act. But Congress, the Supreme Court doesn't really do that. Like Gorsuch, when he came out, he's like, we've already handled this 3 times in his concurring opinion, and you guys should stop doing this. Like that's like him getting mad. That's like level 5 mad out of 10. You're like, that's it. He just said that's like, hey man, you're warned. So it's a battle, which is why this is a front line. And these judges just don't care, man. They go talk to the media. You've got Judge Boasberg, who once he gets backhanded from the Supreme Court, just finds another mechanism, calls it, I'll use my contempt power. You just got reversed, Judge. Doesn't care. So it's like a judicial coup. It's like a judicial insurrection. This old guy, talk about a subdued Tish here. She ain't happy, which makes my day. No, she could see it in her face, man. She was not happy at all. We got this one over from X. And looks like a nice link from E. Texley. He says, this is a 13-second clip video of John Bolton taking a handoff from a Syrian activist while John McCain was lying in state at the Capitol. Let's take a look at this one from the Rubber Duck. See what this one has for us. From the Rubber Duck. Is it a handshake or what's going on over here? All right, so here's this video.
And harder on the general. So Senator McCain did really relate to the truth.
There's John Bolton. That guy just put something in his hand. And he puts it in his pocket and walks away. Yeah, wonder what that was. Wonder what that was. Thank you for that. Hey, Ashley Cooper. Hey, what's up, Ashley? From Texas, we apologize for Ted and his dorky podcast. He does have a podcast. I mean, he's a senator. It would be really nice if, like, somebody could subscribe to his podcast, please, like anybody out there. He talks about it so much, you'll make him so happy. You know, go home and celebrate. Somebody, please do it. Thank you for, Ashley, I know you're probably not going to do it since you're there, but have a great weekend. Thank you. But let Ted Cruz apologize for his podcast. It's funny. We like to make fun of Ted Cruz. When he first started his podcast, remember, he used to say it all the time. Everywhere he went, he was like, hey, Sean Hannity, it's great to be with you. Yeah, I'm a senator. And as I discussed on my podcast called Verdict with Ted Cruz, you know, Sean's like, shut up, Ted. I have my podcast. You're a senator. Knock it off. All right, well, you know, we love to make fun of Ted. Starch Manning says free speech. Protest is patriotic. Only the largest protest in the history of the country. Don't tread on me party is cool when it's Trump, I guess. Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean, we're happy when people who care about America are standing up for American values. We're not going to support a bunch of communists out there. They have free speech. They can go protest, but communism is not patriotic. Communism is the opposite of that, actually. They want to get rid of nationalism. They want you to stop caring about nation states and have a one big class of, you know, molasses and the lowest common denominator. So, yeah, I mean, like a protest that is anti-American is not a patriotic protest, and we would never support that, obviously. So, but they have free speech. They can go protest, but we have the right to know that they're communists. So, yeah. Thank you. You're right. Peng1, what's up? 28 months as a membo. TGIF. Yeah, TGIF. And Starch Manning, sounds like, okay, so Starch Manning, you're probably going out there. You're going to go join the commies. The last No Kings was peaceful. Can't prove that wrong. Do we try at all? I don't think so. I don't even remember the last No Kings protest. That's how ineffective it was. So, yeah, good luck. Rubos. Trump signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Incredible. Immediately. Therefore, I signed a commutation releasing Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life. Awesome. Thank you, Rubos, for that. John McGarvey, what's up? I demand you watch Monty Python, which, as we know, decreases the likelihood that I ever will. So thank you, John. And I think John knows what he's doing, which means I will never watch the movie. Former LEO, where is Tail Gunner Joe McCarthy now that we need him? Where is Tail Gunner Joe McCarthy? Oh yeah, Joe McCarthy from, you know, the Red Scare era. Yeah. We need to find a new Red Scare leader. Jedi Trump. Does impeachment have any effect on prior cases? Does impeachment have any effect on prior cases? Like if a judge is impeached, I guess it would depend on what the impeachment is for. Like if you could say that the judge was engaged in misconduct that impacted his cases, then you might want to request reconsideration of a bad ruling. But otherwise, probably not. Like if there's not a specific complaint tied to that judge's conduct that impacts a prior case, then probably not. So good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. And Rubos, thanks for that one. So big update on George Santos. Very interesting. All right. So my friends, thank you so much for sending those in and for being here on this amazing Friday. Let's say hello to some friends on X, and then we'll call it a day and go over to our members only after party to debrief and see what you have to say about all this. We got a couple of comments from B. Torn. What's up, B. Torn? Says hyperbole, hysteria, hypocrisy, and lying are 4 things politicians do very well. They spew the first 3 to suit their needs, and the 4th only after they forget they abuse the first 3. It's like they run out of tools. And if Antifa is only an idea and has no organizational body politic, then so does fascism, Marxism, Nazism. Yeah, it's all just ideas. But the Antifas have a handbook. There's like an Antifa handbook that exists, as we know. Dark Rogue, what's up? No kings are just hippies from the 60s who are reliving their past. My mother is one of them. Oh, man. Dark Rogue. We still love our mamas, but I think that is true. I've seen a lot of that. It's like interesting. It's like a lot of like white women who are out there like really upset about illegal aliens or something. It's like, what are you so upset about? Weirdos. Like, find something else to do. Anyways, so Dark Rogue, thank you for that, my friends. Thank you very much for sending those in and for supporting our work. Welcome, new members. Great to have you. Of course, we're going to have our members only stream on Saturday where we'll see what exactly is going on with these crazy communists. Hopefully you can join us. And if you're a member, join us right now for our members only after party. We're going to debrief, take some locals comments, see what else you have to say about this, see what you're getting into over the weekend. And of course, we'll come back tomorrow. But before we wrap it up for the day, want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big thank yous and shout outs to Donut, Mine Me, our friend John. We got K-Beam, Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger over on the Rumbles, our friends Jigum, Elliot, Just Rhonda, all modding the fort down for us, keeping things oh so nice and beautiful. But it has been a great week, my friends. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing the show or a video with a friend or family member so that they can come join us. We're coming back next week. We're going to get into it again on Monday. But until we're back, I hope your weekend is just outstanding. Hopefully you're getting outside, getting some fresh air, spending time with friends, family, all the people that we love, pausing, resting, restoring, rejuvenating, so that when we come back on Monday, you are restored and ready to go, because we're going to be back here. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends, and an amazing weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through